This happened back in 2011 when I was a teacher at a university. A lot of students liked me because my sense of humor matched theirs, and I usually treated them more like friends than just students. I had been doing this job for about 2 years, so I had gained quite a bit of experience. Besides teaching, I was also involved in many other activities, like giving coaching and private classes, just to earn some extra money. I always preferred going home late, so I would usually leave at night. My family, my wife and kids, were not happy about this, but it had become a habit for me. That night was no different. I left the university very late. My campus was surrounded by dense trees and quiet hills, a place where there was a slight chill and silence even during the day, and at night, everything became even more deserted. I lived in a small residential area near my home, with only a few houses scattered around, some distance between each one, and nothing but forest and silence all around. The road from the university to my home was a narrow, winding path that passed through tall redwood trees, and at night there were very few streetlights, so only the headlights of my car showed what was ahead. I had been driving for just about 10 to 15 minutes after leaving the university, when suddenly my car began to jerk violently, and within moments it completely shut down and came to a stop. I had bought the car just a few months ago, so I didn't have much knowledge about it. Still, I stepped out and opened the front hood, trying to check if maybe a wire had sparked or burned. But honestly, I couldn't understand anything. It was getting really cold, so I got back inside the car and decided to call home. My brother and his wife live nearby, so I thought I'd ask him for help. I called, but at first there was no answer. That made me even more uneasy. I started worrying that they might already be asleep. I kept trying, and after a few attempts, my brother's wife finally picked up. I quickly explained everything to her, and she went to wake my brother. A moment later, he came on the call. I apologized for disturbing his sleep, but when I told him what had happened, he immediately told me to stay where I was, inside the car. He said he was coming to pick me up right away. Just as he told me, I stayed inside the car and waited. As time passed, the warmth from the heater made me feel a little sleepy. I didn't even realize when I drifted off. Still, because I wasn't used to sleeping deeply in places like that, my eyes kept opening every few minutes. Each time, I expected to see my brother's car pulling up to take me home. About half an hour went by like this. I tried calling my brother again, but his phone was busy. I assumed he must be driving, so I decided not to disturb him. I put my phone away and closed my eyes once more. It had only been about 5 minutes when my eyes suddenly opened again. I looked ahead. Everything seemed normal, but my brother was nowhere in sight. Then, as I turned to look out the side window, I noticed another car parked right next to mine. Its lights were off, and it was so dark inside that I couldn't see anything at all. But just as I was about to step out of my car, thinking that maybe someone had stopped to help me, everything suddenly changed. The moment I moved closer toward that car, someone just started. I could clearly see him sitting inside it. Before I could properly react, the car suddenly sped off at a very high speed and disappeared down the road within seconds. That sight left me a little shaken. I couldn't understand why anyone would just stop in front of my car, sit there in silence, and then leave like that. It didn't make any sense. Feeling uneasy, I got back inside my own car and sat there, trying to think. I kept wondering what was actually going on, and while I was still lost in those thoughts, only about 5 minutes had passed when I saw that same car again. This time coming back from the road ahead, directly toward me. I immediately started panicking. Something about the situation felt completely abnormal. I couldn't understand what was going on, but fear started taking over me. I kept trying to call my brother again and again so I could tell him everything, but he wasn't picking up his phone. In that moment, my wife's call came through. I quickly answered it. On the call, I was so overwhelmed that I could barely speak properly. I just kept saying things like I might not survive, that someone was either trying to rob me or hurt me, and I told her to take care of the kids. Hearing this, she started crying and kept asking what was happening. And then, that same car stopped right in front of mine. The moment it came to a halt, everything went black. I fainted out of fear. When I opened my eyes again, it was morning, and I found myself in a hospital bed. My wife was sitting beside me, holding my hand tightly, crying and kissing it again and again. When I regained consciousness and came to, my wife immediately hugged me tightly and started crying. My children were also brought to see me. But I didn't tell them anything about what I had experienced that night. I stopped my wife from worrying them, so I kept it to myself. Thankfully, everything gradually settled down, and I was discharged and returned home the same day. To this day, I still don't know who the person in that car was, but after that incident, I never traveled at night again. Later, my brother told me something that shocked me even more. He said that on his way, he had actually seen an accident scene involving a car. He thought it was me, so he rushed over immediately to help, believing I might be the one inside. But it turned out to be someone else. By the time an ambulance was called and the injured person was taken to the hospital, it was already too late. My brother told me that the man was wearing a brown leather jacket and a thick cap that covered his ears completely. Hearing this, I was left completely stunned. You won't believe this, but that was the same man who had been troubling me that night. The same one who kept appearing near my car and staring at me. I tried to look deeper into the incident later, and I found out something even more disturbing. The man had actually died in that very accident scene. But the real question remained. If he had already died there, then who was I seeing that night? Since that day, I've never been able to sleep peacefully whenever I think about it. I never travel at night anymore. And to this day, this incident remains a mystery in my mind, and a fear that never really left me.